welcome back. Now it's time for the press review, and we have our distinguished guest, Dr. Freddy Elbaiady, the resigned member of the former parliament. Good morning, Dr. Freddy, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Dr. Freddy, we will start from Al Ahram newspaper, and we read the Minister of Interior says, our aim is to abort the plans of creating strife. The same issue was tackled in Al Masri Al-Yawm, page 4, and we read, the Minister of Interior says, facing the plans of the Brotherhood and attempts to hinder the constitution is a matter of life and death. Ibrahim says to the Central Security, we are determined to defeat the terrorism and our task to protect the citizens, even we sacrificed our lives. And Ibrahim said that Egypt is taking serious steps towards stability in his meeting with the chiefs and officers of the Central Police Force. The minister stressed that police force are determined to eliminate terrorism and achieve stability in the country. Ibrahim underlined that the police next battle is to abort sedition schemes and maintain confidence between the people and the police. Dr. Freddy, how do you read the statements by the Interior Minister, and do you believe now that the security is starting to restore in Egypt in the current phase?
I believe they have a very hard task, and it's very clear after the 30th of June revolution that we started a war against terrorism. And just recently we heard about the investigations with Zawahri, that he actually confessed in his investigation that he received millions of dollars from the Muslim Brotherhood, people from Al-Shatir, to buy weapons and to use it in creating this case of chaos. So it's very clear they are very strongly linked with officially labeled, internationally labeled terroristic organizations. And this is what the whole world should know clearly, that we are in a war against terrorism. And these days, especially when we are moving a step forward toward the democratic stability, and we are approaching the referendum for the constitution, they will try to create a case of strife and of violence and chaos, hindering this process. So the police authorities and police forces have a very difficult task to restore the stability and the security. But I believe they are doing a good job. They still have many things to do to control these violent demonstrations or violent terroristic attacks. But they are moving forward in this field.
So do you believe, as the Minister of Interior, Mr. General Mohammed Ibrahim, said that we are determined to defeat terrorism? Do you believe that we are moving in the right direction toward this, actually, in spite of the current escalation from the side of the elements of the Brotherhood, as you have mentioned, ahead of the expected referendum?
I believe they are doing a good job and they are moving forward in this process. As I mentioned, that it's a difficult task because it's not only fighting against local terroristic groups, but they get support from other international terroristic groups all over the world. And as we go through the investigations and we arrest people, it discloses these relations. So they are fighting the international terrorism, but you can see that the security is getting much better than the few months ago.
Indeed.
So it will take some more time, but I believe that they will finally get over this.
And we move to Al Masri Al-Yawm, and we read its main banner. The economic articles in the new constitution confuses the presidency. In a surprise, the draft gives the education and health quarter of the budget of the state. President Mansour tackles with El Ganzouri the text of the economic articles. Minister of Finance says we are committed to increase spending on education and health, and CAPMAS says 53 million are eligible to vote and participants will not be less than 65%. The Supreme Electoral Commission says we are waiting for the date of the referendum and 1 million voters, preliminary increase in the number of voters, and the Egyptian governorates announced a state of emergency in preparation for the referendum on the new charter. And a Brotherhood plan to escalate against a new party. Egypt governorates are getting ready for the anticipated referendum on the new constitution in coordination with the Ministry of Local Development the higher electoral committee, and other concerned bodies. This comes within the framework of designating the locations where the voting counting will take place, as well as the residences for judges and observers. Sir, as we have said in the previous article, that we are getting ready for the referendum and the voting process. How do you see all the preparations and the turnout? Do you expect it to be high in number? How do you see the preparation and the process of the referendum?
I believe there will be a high number of people going for this referendum. And I believe that everybody will go, even those who are objecting the referendum, they will go and say. And
you don't expect the elements, for example, of the Brotherhood to boycott the referendum?
I believe they will go and say no to it. They claim that they will boycott the referendum, but they will go and say no. So this is important for those who won't say yes to the referendum to go and sign their yes, because if they didn't go and those went and say no, this will make a wrong balance in the referendum. So everybody advise everybody to read the Constitution before saying no or yes. They read the articles of the Constitution, and at the end of the day, we should know that the Constitution is not the last Constitution or the last amendments, and it will be also eligible for amendments by the coming Parliament. So my personal view, if I would agree for more than 80% of the articles of the Constitution, I would say yes for it. And personally, I'm convinced that it has very good articles and has very good forward steps in the Constitution, especially at the section of the rights and freedom, with the rights of women and minorities, especially in the health and the education budget that you just mentioned. This is a very important step. We almost doubled the budget for the education and the health. And this is a very necessary step, and I believe these are the most important and necessary problems in our nation. We need to tackle and we need to solve the education and the health. And I was just a few days ago in Europe. We were in the European Parliament, and they were asking us, how can we help Egypt? And the first thing I said, you should help us in education. We don't need money, but we need some expertise. We need some help in the know-how of education, the whole system of education. If we were able to improve the system of education, we'll be able to raise a coming generation for Egypt that will stand for and will help this country to be one of the best countries all over the world.
Dr. Freddy, still two very important articles were not decided in the Constitution regarding the which comes first, the presidential or the parliamentary elections, and also the system of the parliamentary elections, whether it would be single list, the candidate, or the list system. How do you see this, and what's your preference for this? Do you believe that the parliamentary elections or presidential should come first, and the system of the parliament election?
I believe it's a good point that the Constitution didn't close the door in this part, and they opened it to any way of the election system, either the single individual system or the electoral list, or the mixed electoral list and single individuals. So any choice will be actually constitutional. So the article opened the door in this part, and it's now under discussion by the parties and by the president. They left the decision to the president. My personal preference is the mixed system between the individual and the electoral list. So this will give chance to the parties and to the individuals to run for this, and will give also chance for the minorities to be represented in the electoral lists. Again, about the who should come first, either the presidential election or the parliamentary elections, again, it opens the door in this article to the president to decide. And I know today there is a meeting with the president and the political parties representatives. They will discuss this issue. My personal preference is the presidential election should come first for different reasons. The first reason is that according to the Constitution, it's more a presidential political system than a parliamentary system. So the president has more authorities and has more power than in a parliamentary system. So getting an elected president after a constitution, now we will have two democratically established processes after the revolution. And I believe also running a presidential election will have less strife and less problematic process than having a parliamentary elections. So it will be easily security better controlled to have the presidential election at this time. And this will also give us a strong step forward and credibility internationally, having voted for constitution, having elected president. This can lead us for the third step of a parliamentary election. So because this actually referendum of the constitution will be the first democratic process after the revolution. We didn't have any referendum or elections after that. So international view is very important. All the world is waiting for an established process, for established institution. So having these two steps will be easier and will lead us for the third step of the parliamentary elections.
And from Al-Ahram we read, masked men in Mansoura University burn a police vehicle and attack an army armed vehicle. The same issue was tackled in Al-Masri al-Yawm, and we read the terrorism of the Brotherhood turns the universities into battlefields. Brotherhood elements attack security at Al-Azhar University and burning a police vehicle in Al-Mansoura University. And to shed more light on the issue, we have the following report.
Egyptian police fired tear gas in an attempt to disperse Brotherhood elements who were demonstrating at an Islamic university in Cairo. A security official said that Brotherhood students at Al-Azhar University hurled rocks on Sunday at the police and tried to block traffic on a major thoroughfare next to the campus in eastern Cairo. TV footage showed flames raging at the gates of the university dorms. Police later left the area, and Brotherhood elements who'd taken cover inside the dorm went out to continue their protest. Officials said the Brotherhood students had lit a fire at the dorm gates. With the start of the school year in September, some universities have become the main venue for protests by Brotherhood elements. The banned Brotherhood, the one from which deposed Mohammed Morsi hails, has organized protests with marches on campuses nearly every day. Many of them have led to clashes with other students. However, Al-Azhar University has seen persistent protests. Brotherhood elements also protested on Sunday at a university in the Nile Delta city of Mansoura, as well as at Cairo University.
And welcome back. We continue our press review with Dr. Freddy Elbaiady, the resigned member of parliament. Dr. Freddy, as we have seen in the report, the elements of the Brotherhood, especially the students, both girls and boys, students are escalating the violence. We have seen what happened yesterday in Al-Azhar University, in Al-Mansoura University. How do you see this? And they are trying actually to escalate ahead of the referendum in order to create chaos and scare people from going to the referendum?
It's really, I really feel sorry that educational institution like Al-Azhar University is changed to be a battlefield.
Indeed.
Those students who are supposed to be students going to learn and study and help their country in the future by the education they receive, they are turning into riots and creating violence inside the university and in the streets. They went outside and they attacked the police outside the university.
They even attacked some doctors and deans.
Yeah, that's true. And they held some professors in and they attacked them. I'm also wondering why the police is not dealing with them. And they now have the demonstrations law, which I was objecting at the beginning, but they should actually apply it to them. Those are the people who should be targeted by the demonstrations law, not the peaceful demonstrators. So the police should actually take a step to control the security, and also the university administration. I believe they have the right to discipline these students. They can apply some punishments to them according to the university law. It's not allowed to have this kind of violence and destruction inside an institutional educational institution.
Doctor, do you believe that they are trying to disturb the education in the universities in order to maybe suspend education for a while in order to disrupt the educational system in Egypt, or what message they are trying to deliver here?
It's part of the big picture. They are trying to create chaos in the whole country. It's you can see the hatred and the revenge in all the demonstrations that they do. How they are trying actually to destroy everything. How they are trying to get revenge from their own country, which is really unbelievable. I believe that you can be against the system, the regime, you can be objecting to the political regime, but going and destroying the foundations of the country, the education process, the buildings.
Even the girls yesterday at Al-Azhar University, it was such a scary scene to be watched.
It's the same behavior, boys and girls. They have the same school and they do the same violence process. So the more they do this, the more they lose their integrity, the more they lose their credibility, and those people who were actually sympathizing with them, they lose their sympathy. So it's again a stupid action of them. It's not only distracting the country, but they lose their sympathy from some people who were actually sympathizing with them earlier before.
So do you expect the violence to continue and increase in the coming days ahead of the expected referendum in January?
I expect their attempt to increase the violence, but I would also expect the police to control this violence and not to allow them anymore to hinder this democratic process or to create any kind of chaos in the streets.
And from Al Ahram front page, we read in the meeting of the ministers of irrigation and water resources of Egypt, Sudan and Ethiopia, new mechanism to solve the crisis of the Renaissance Dam in Ethiopia. The three Eastern Nile basin countries, Egypt, Sudan and Ethiopia, began meetings on Sunday in Khartoum. The committee, comprising experts from the three countries, are to discuss Ethiopia's Renaissance Dam, which is under construction. Sudan has said it does not expect to be affected by the Ethiopian Grand Renaissance Dam development. And Egypt believes its historic rights of the Nile are guaranteed by two treaties from 1929 and 1959, which allow it 87% of the Nile flow and give it a veto power over upstream projects. Expert committees from Sudan, Egypt and Ethiopia will be discussing the dam project in depth during the meeting sessions. And how do you see the meeting which was held yesterday between the ministers of water resources and irrigation of the three countries, Egypt, Sudan and Ethiopia, regarding the construction of the Renaissance Dam, which might affect the flow of the water to Egypt and its share of the Nile water?
Of course, the water and the Nile is the vessel of life to Egypt, and it's very necessary to tackle this problem of the Renaissance Dam, which will actually reduce the amount of water coming to Egypt. I believe we should actually think of more than one way of thinking. The first is the political and the dialogue process, trying to negotiate how to increase our water resources. But I believe it's more important also to think of alternative means of power and energy, thinking of using the solar power energy, the wind system, different kinds we can actually use. Especially the solar power, we have a country which is rich in sun.
Of course.
We see in Europe how they are getting use of the solar power, and different, especially in Germany. I was in Germany, I saw how it's actually they force every new building to have a solar power generator.
I believe that we should follow suit, of course.
So we should actually think of alternatives. We shouldn't only depend on the Nile water, though it's very necessary. So we should target the different solutions, the political solution, negotiations with them. This will solve part of the problem, and it's more important to think for the future how to depend more on alternatives of power and of energy sources.
Dr. Freddy will be back to continue our press review, but now it's time for a short break.
Al-Azhar University campus on Sunday evening witnessed clashes between Brotherhood students and the university security staff. The clashes started outside the campus with the police forces who forced the students to resort to the campus. Earlier, a number of female Brotherhood students at Al-Azhar University held a demonstration in front of the university's main campus in Cairo's Nasr City district. The Brotherhood students chanted slogans calling for the immediate release of their fellow students who were detained in previous demonstrations. Some Brotherhood elements had also attempted to prevent university staff from entering the campus, prompting security forces to interfere and allow the staff in. Several car bombs killed at least 39 people across Iraq on Sunday and wounded more than 120, mainly targeting busy commercial streets in and around the capital. Police said the deadliest attack took place in the district of Bayet in Baghdad when a bomb in a parked vehicle exploded near car workshops, killing 7 and wounding 14. They added that an attack on another car workshop in the district of Taji, north of Baghdad, killed 3 and wounded 10 others. Violence in Iraq is at the highest level in at least 5 years, and the capital has been targeted almost on a daily basis. Thailand's premier called a snap election on Monday to try to defuse the kingdom's political crisis. However, protesters vowed to keep up their fight to topple her government with a major rally described as Judgment Day. Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra has faced more than a month of street protests by demonstrators, sometimes numbering in their tens of thousands, who want to suspend the country's democracy in favor of an unelected People's Council. Thai opposition lawmakers resigned en masse from Parliament Sunday, deepening the crisis. Yingluck, the sister of ousted leader Thaksin Shinawatra, announced in a televised national address early Monday that she would dissolve Parliament and hold a general election as soon as possible. This as demonstrators began another major street rally in the capital amid fears of fresh violence. The election move could increase pressure on protesters to agree to some kind of compromise with the government.
And welcome back. We continue our press review with Dr. Freddy Elbaiady, the resigned member of parliament. And we move to some regional news, and we read from Al Ahram front page, Sudan's al-Bashir replaces Islamists and forms a new government. This same issue was tackled in Al-Masri al-Yawm, and we read al-Bashir overthrows the old guard in favor of youth and the army. The Sudanese cabinet reshuffle postpones the Eastern Nile Basin meeting in Khartoum. And more details about the reshuffles in the Sudanese government in the following report.
Sudan's President Omar al-Bashir on Sunday replaced his 2 vice presidents and unveiled a partially new cabinet after urgent calls for reform in the 24-year-old regime. The changes come less than a week after leading ruling party dissident Ghassi Salahuddin Atabani said he had launched a new reform party, relying on youth support that has attracted thousands of supporters. It was the most serious split in years within Bashir's National Congress Party NCP, which has faced internal criticism over alleged corruption and stagnant leadership. Nafia is stepping down from his post as Bashir's advisor and assistant to be replaced by senior NCP member Ibrahim Ghandour. Top Vice President Ali Osman Taha is also leaving after decades in the regime's inner circle. He originally led the National Islamic Front Party, which backed the 1989 coup. Senior party official Rabi Abdul Ati Abeid said Bakri Hassan Saleh, a former Interior and Defense Minister, replaces Taha, whilst Hassabu Muhammad Abdul Rahman becomes second Vice President. Defense Minister Abdul Rahman Mohammed Hussein keeps his job. Also retaining his post is Foreign Minister Ali Ahmed Karti. A minority of cabinet members from parties other than the NCP will keep their portfolios pending decisions by those parties. Bashir is to swear in the new government at 0900 GMT on Monday morning.
Dr. Dr. Freddy, how do you see the cabinet reshuffle which happened yesterday by the Sudanese top officials, the President of Sudan, Al-Bashir? He replaced many of the Islamists by youth and army. How do you see this change, and why did he replace the Islamists there in Sudan?
I believe it's a very necessary change in the Sudanese government, and it's also, I believe it's a smart step by Al-Bashir to take, and maybe he could see that the whole region is now against the Muslim Brotherhood and against the political Islamic parties. So he started to do it instead of being forced to do it by his people.
Yeah,
so he took this step to get rid of all what they call the old guard, and most of them were leaders of the political Islamic parties and the Muslim Brotherhood. So it seems that there is a change in the whole region and rejection to this group, and they are not acceptable, and they are not credible to be in government anymore.
And we read from Al-Ahram front page, Syria accuses Turkey's Erdogan of trying to divide it. Syria accuses Turkey of continuing it to support terrorism on Syrian territories, and the Free Army targets areas in Deir ez-Zor, and the European official warns against the worst humanitarian crisis in Syria. And the head of the Syrian National Coalition opposition group says though in relations between Washington and Tehran could strengthen President Bashar al-Assad's hand in the Syrian civil war. Sir, we have seen a very chaotic situation up to this moment in Syria. Do you believe that Turkey is actually interfering in this situation there, and many other external countries or elements are actually playing in the scene in Syria?
Actually, it's a very complex situation. I believe that Turkey and its Erdogan are trying to interfere in all the country, and we saw in Egypt how they were interfering, and still to this moment they are trying to interfere in our political situation. In Syria, of course, the situation is very bad, and it's very violent, and the destruction, and it's a war there. It's a kind of a foreign. And it's not only a civil war, but it's international or external countries, including, I believe, Turkey and other countries who are all have their goals to divide Syria and to have their control over the government. So it's clear now that it's not anymore a kind of popular revolution, but it's kind of interference by other countries who are trying to have their control over the country. And as the Syrians say that Erdogan is trying to divide the country, he had his dream to have a kind of a nation in the area, and he can be
he's starting to lose his hopes, I believe, by what happened in Egypt.
So they are probably desperate in this, and you see that their plans are now disclosed, and those countries who were aiming to control are now trying to get independent and rejecting their control. So Syria is still one of their interest areas, and they are trying to have their hands over it.
Dr. Freddy, as the situation is getting more complicated in Syria, we are seeing also a humanitarian crisis there. Many refugees are escaping from Syria, and others who are living there are suffering to a great extent. Do you believe that the situation could remain as is now there? And how can we solve the problem of the Syrian refugees who are really suffering?
It's really a problematic situation, and I have my friends in Syria who I call from time to time, and to check how things are going with them. It's really disastrous there. I believe that all the countries, of course, have to take their responsibility toward the refugees and take care of the refugees. But again, there is a responsibility of the international community against for the stability of Syria. And now, being it's not only an internal issue, with all the countries trying to help the attacks in Syria and the war in Syria to escalate the violence there. So I believe the UN and the international community must have their role in this, trying to regain stability over the country and leave the decision of the country's political system to the Syrian people, not to the other forces which are trying to manipulate the situation in Syria.
Dr. Freddy Elbaiady, the resigned member of parliament, always a pleasure to have you with us, and good morning, sir.
Thank you, good morning.
And now it's time for a look at the performance of the Egyptian stock market in the following report.